Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're starting an absolutely insane new fanfiction series. What if Goku unlocked Super Saiyan 3 months before the Saiyans even arrived on Earth? Now this concept is absolutely broken for so many reasons. Think about it in canon, Goku barely survived his first encounter with Vegeta even with help. But imagine if he'd already achieved the legendary transformation and had months to stabilize it. We're talking about a Goku who doesn't just stumble into SSJ through rage, but actually awakens it through protective instincts in the gravity chamber. The ripple effects are insane. His power spike gets detected across the entire galaxy. Frieza starts mobilizing his forces early because he's terrified of the Super Saiyan legend. And Vegeta completely loses his mind when he realizes a low-class warrior achieved the transformation before him. So we thought, what if we took this early transformation concept and explored how it would fundamentally reshape the Saiyan saga and beyond? Part 1 covers Goku's desperate awakening in the gravity chamber, the galaxy-wide panic it causes, and that epic first confrontation with Vegeta, where the prince's entire worldview gets shattered by seeing the golden legend in action. If you're hyped for this timeline-breaking adventure, smash that like button, hit subscribe for more epic what-if content, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any parts of this series. Alright, let's dive into Part 1. The metallic groaning of the gravity chamber echoed through the depths of Capsule Corporation like the dying breaths of some mechanical beast. Inside the reinforced dome, where the air itself seemed to have weight, Goku drove his fist through another training dummy with enough force to pulverize Diamond. The artificial construct exploded into a cloud of metal fragments and synthetic padding, joining the graveyard of destroyed equipment that littered the chamber floor. Still not enough. Sweat cascaded down his orange gi in rivers, the fabric darkened and clinging to his muscular frame like a second skin. The gravity machine's display showed a steady 50x in glowing red numerals, 50 times Earth's natural gravity pressing down on him with the crushing force of a collapsed star. Every breath was a struggle, every movement a monumental effort that would have liquefied lesser beings. Yet Goku pushed forward, his black hair matted with perspiration, his dark eyes burning with an intensity that had grown more desperate with each passing day. 3 months since Raditz had shattered his world with revelations that still haunted his dreams. 3 months since learning that he wasn't Goku, son of Grandpa Gohan, but Kakarot, last son of a warrior race that conquered planets for sport. 3 months since discovering that 2 more Saiyans, beings like him, but infinitely more powerful, were hurtling through space toward Earth with genocide in their hearts. You're weak, Kakarot. Pathetically weak for a Saiyan warrior. Raditz's mocking words echoed in his mind as Goku launched into another series of training katas, his movements becoming increasingly frenzied. Each punch carried the weight of mountains, each kick could have leveled buildings, yet it felt woefully inadequate. The Saiyan Prince Vegeta was said to be exponentially stronger than Raditz, and if his brother's power had been enough to nearly kill him even with Piccolo's help. Ra! Goku's battle cry shook the chamber as he unleashed a rapid-fire barrage of punches at the air, his fists moving so fast they became blurs. The sonic booms of his strikes created a staccato rhythm that sounded like gunfire, each impact with the dense air creating small shockwaves that rippled through the chamber. But no matter how hard he trained, no matter how much he pushed his body beyond its limits, the cold truth remained. At his current rate of improvement, he would never be strong enough. The Saiyans would arrive, and everyone he loved would die. Chi-Chi, Gohan, Krillin, Bulma, Master Roshi, all of them would be slaughtered by beings who viewed destruction as entertainment. The thought of Gohan's innocent face, his son looking up at him with such trust and admiration, sent a spike of protective fury through Goku's chest. His 4-year-old boy believed his father could handle anything, could protect everyone. How could he explain to Gohan that his daddy was just a failure wearing a hero's reputation? Goku's fist slammed into the reinforced wall of the chamber with such force that hairline cracks spiderwebbed across the supposedly indestructible surface. The impact sent vibrations through his bones, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the crushing weight of inadequacy that pressed down on him harder than any gravity multiplier. "I need more power," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the constant hum of the gravity generators. "There has to be something more." As if responding to his desperation, fragmentary images flashed through his mind, half-remembered dreams that had been growing more vivid since Raditz's death. Visions of golden light, of power that made the earth tremble, of a warrior whose very presence could make gods kneel. Sometimes he thought he could almost remember standing among the stars, his hair blazing like captured sunlight, his power so immense that entire solar systems felt his presence. But those were just dreams, weren't they? Fantasies born from desperation and wishful thinking. Goku shook his head violently, sending droplets of sweat flying. He couldn't afford to chase fantasies. He had to focus on reality, on the tangible improvements he could make through training. Settling back into his combat stance, he began another series of exercises, pushing his body to new extremes of endurance and strength. Hours passed in a blur of motion and exhaustion. The gravity chamber's timer showed that he'd been training for 14 straight hours, far beyond what any normal being could endure. His gi was in tatters, his muscles screamed in protest, and his Kai reserves were running dangerously low. Yet still he continued, driven by the knowledge that somewhere in the cold vacuum of space, two Saiyan warriors were drawing closer to Earth with each passing moment. It was during a particularly complex combination, a spinning aerial kick followed by a Kai-enhanced uppercut, that disaster struck. His exhausted body betrayed him at the crucial moment, his timing slightly off under the crushing gravity. Instead of flowing smoothly into the next movement, he stumbled, his concentration wavering just enough for the artificial gravity to slam him face first into the chamber floor. The impact was devastating. Even with his superhuman durability, striking the reinforced surface under 50 times Earth's gravity was like being hit by a falling mountain. Stars exploded across his vision, and for a moment, the world went black. When consciousness returned, Goku found himself sprawled on the cold metal floor, his body screaming in agony. Blood trickled from a dozen cuts and scrapes, and he could feel the throbbing ache of what were probably several cracked ribs. But worse than the physical pain was the crushing realization that swept over him like a tide of despair. I'm not strong enough. I'll never be strong enough. The truth hit him with the force of revelation. No amount of training, no matter how intense or prolonged, would prepare him for what was coming. The Saiyans would arrive and he would fail. Everyone would die, and it would be his fault for being too weak to protect them. Images flashed through his mind in rapid succession. Chi-Chi's terrified face as Saiyan warriors descended from the sky. Gohan crying for his daddy as alien hands reached for him. Krillin falling in battle, his best friend's life extinguished because Goku wasn't strong enough to stand beside him. Master Roshi, Yamcha, Tyne, all of them dying because the Earth's greatest defender was nothing more than a pretender. No, Goku whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. No, I won't let that happen. He tried to push himself up, but his arms shook with exhaustion and gave out, sending him crashing back to the floor. The gravity pressed down on him like the weight of his failures, making even the simple act of breathing a monumental effort. Your power level is a joke, Kakarot. On planet Vegeta, you would have been executed at birth for being so pathetically weak. Raditz's cruel words echoed in his mind, but this time they carried a different weight. Not just mockery, but revelation. He was a Saiyan, a member of a warrior race that had conquered entire worlds. Somewhere in his blood, in his very cells, there had to be power he hadn't accessed yet. There had to be something more than what he'd shown so far. Those dreams of golden light, of power that shook the heavens, what if they weren't just dreams? What if they were memories, genetic echoes of what he could become if he just pushed hard enough? Goku closed his eyes and reached deep within himself, searching for that spark of something greater. He thought of his friends, of his family, of everyone counting on him to be their shield against the approaching darkness. He thought of Gohan's trusting smile, of Chi-Chi's worried embrace, of Krillin's unwavering loyalty despite knowing how dangerous their adventures could become. I have to protect them. I will protect them. The conviction burned in his chest like a flame, growing stronger with each heartbeat. This wasn't about him anymore, wasn't about his own limitations or fears. This was about the people he loved, the world that had raised and shaped him, the innocent lives that would be snuffed out if he failed. Something stirred deep within him, not his normal Kai, but something older, more primal. It felt like touching a live wire, like grasping the edge of a star. Power, raw and ancient, began to seep through his exhausted body like liquid fire. His eyes snapped open, and for just an instant they weren't black but golden, reflecting a light that seemed to come from within. The legendary Super Saiyan appears once every 1,000 years. A voice whispered in his mind, not Raditz's mocking tone, but something else, something that felt like the echo of genetic memory. A warrior of such power that even the gods take notice. The power surged stronger now, responding to his desperate need, his absolute refusal to accept defeat. It felt like awakening from a long dream, like finally remembering who he was supposed to be. The crushing gravity that had been pressing down on him suddenly felt insignificant, like the weight of a feather. Goku pushed himself to his feet with fluid grace. His movements no longer labored despite the 50 times gravity. The exhaustion that had been weighing down his limbs evaporated like morning mist, replaced by an energy that seemed to come from the core of his being. "I am Goku, son of Grandpa Gohan," he said aloud, his voice carrying a new resonance. "I am Kakarot, last son of planet Vegeta, and I will not let my friends die." The power answered his call like a loyal servant finally acknowledged by its master. It started as a warm glow in the center of his chest, then spread outward through his entire body like wildfire. His muscles swelled with newfound strength, his senses sharpened to superhuman levels, and his Kai reserves expanded beyond anything he had ever experienced. The air around him began to shimmer with heat distortion, and small objects throughout the chamber started to rattle as his power level skyrocketed. The gravity that had been crushing him moments before now felt like a gentle breeze, utterly incapable of restraining the force building within him. Golden sparks of energy began to dance around his body, crackling with electric intensity. His black hair stirred without any wind, defying the artificial gravity as if it were responding to its own cosmic force. The very air seemed to hold its breath in anticipation of what was about to unfold. "This is it," Goku realized with crystal clarity. "This is what I was meant to become." With a roar that shook the entire Capsule Corporation building, Goku's transformation exploded into full manifestation. Golden light erupted from his body with the brilliance of a newborn star, washing over the gravity chamber and turning the reinforced walls into shadows. His hair blazed upward, transformed from its natural black to a gleaming gold that seemed to contain the essence of sunlight itself. His eyes became twin emeralds, glowing with an inner fire that spoke of power beyond mortal comprehension. The golden aura that surrounded him wasn't just light, it was pure energy made visible, crackling with electricity and radiating heat that made the air itself burn. The gravity chamber systems went haywire, displays flickering and sparking as they tried to process power readings that exceeded their maximum parameters. The reinforced floor cracked beneath his feet, unable to withstand the pressure of his transformed presence even under 50 times Earth's gravity. For a moment that felt like eternity, Goku stood at the center of a maelstrom of golden power, feeling more complete than he ever had in his entire life. This was what he had been reaching for in those half-remembered dreams. This was the strength he needed to protect everyone he loved. Super Saiyan. The knowledge came to him as naturally as breathing, along with the understanding that he had achieved something that hadn't been seen in over a millennium. He was the legendary warrior of Saiyan myth, the one whose power was said to shake the foundations of reality itself. But even as triumph filled his heart, he could feel the transformation's instability. The power was too much, too raw, like trying to contain an ocean in a teacup. His body, still exhausted from hours of brutal training, wasn't prepared to maintain this level of energy output. The golden aura began to flicker like a candle in the wind. Goku gritted his teeth, trying to hold onto the transformation through sheer willpower, but he could feel it slipping away from him like water through his fingers. "Not yet," he gasped, sweat beading on his brow as he struggled to maintain the form. "I need to understand how to control this." But it was too late. With a final burst of golden light, the transformation collapsed, leaving Goku standing in his normal form, swaying on his feet from exhaustion. His hair returned to its natural black, his eyes to their familiar dark color, and his power level plummeted back to its normal range. The sudden loss of that incredible strength hit him like a physical blow. He staggered, catching himself against the chamber wall, his body trembling from the aftermath of channeling such immense energy. Yet even in his exhaustion, Goku smiled. He had done it. For just a few moments, he had touched the power of legend itself. The Super Saiyan transformation was real, and it was his to command once he learned how to control it properly. 3 months, he whispered to himself, sliding down the wall to sit on the chamber floor. "I have 3 months to master this before they arrive." High above in the lookout that floated serenely above the earth, Kami suddenly stiffened at his meditation post, his ancient eyes widening with shock. Beside him, Mr. Popo's dark features creased with concern as he felt the same overwhelming presence wash over the planet. "Kami," Mr. Popo asked quietly, "what was that power?" "It felt like the awakening of a god," Kami finished, his voice filled with awe and trepidation. "That energy signature, it was unlike anything I have ever felt." For a moment, it seemed as though the very fabric of reality was trembling. They both looked down toward the distant city where Capsule Corporation stood, their enhanced senses still reeling from the brief but earth-shaking display of power they had witnessed. "Goku," Kami whispered, "what have you become?" Meanwhile, in the cold depths of space, two figures in spherical pods hurtled through the cosmos toward a small blue planet. Inside one of the pods, Prince Vegeta of the Saiyans slept fitfully, his dreams filled with conquest and glory. Suddenly, his scouter activated automatically, detecting an energy reading so massive that it jolted him awake with its urgent beeping. Vegeta's eyes snapped open, immediately focusing on the device's display. For a moment, he stared at the readings in disbelief. Then his expression shifted to one of rage so pure it made the air in his pod crackle with energy. "Impossible," he snarled, his royal pride burning like acid in his throat. No one on that pathetic planet should possess such power, and that energy signature, it felt almost like. He couldn't bring himself to say it, couldn't acknowledge what his Saiyan instincts were screaming at him. But deep in his warrior's soul, Prince Vegeta knew that something had awakened on Earth. Something that challenged every assumption he had about his own supremacy. Something that would require the full extent of his royal power to crush. "Kakarot," he whispered, though he didn't yet know why that name had come to his lips. "What are you?" The prince's pod continued its inexorable journey toward Earth, but now Vegeta was wide awake, his mind racing with dark possibilities and his pride burning for answers. The conquest of Earth had just become much more interesting, and far more dangerous. The morning sun cast long shadows across the sprawling metropolis below as Goku materialized on Kami's lookout via instant transmission, his arrival marked by the familiar pop of displaced air. But something was different about him. The usual carefree bounce in his step had been replaced by a more measured gait, and his dark eyes held a depth that hadn't been there before his transformation 3 days ago. Kami emerged from the inner sanctum of the lookout, his weathered face creased with concern. The ancient guardian of Earth had been waiting for this moment, knowing that their conversation was inevitable after that earth-shaking display of power. "Goku," Kami said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "We need to talk." Mr. Popo appeared beside his eternal companion, the loyal attendant's usually serene expression troubled. "The energy you released 3 days ago, it was felt across multiple dimensions. Even the afterlife took notice." Goku nodded solemnly, his hand unconsciously clenching and unclenching as if testing his control. "I know. I can still feel it inside me, like there's a volcano just waiting to erupt. I came here because I need to understand what's happening to me, and I need somewhere safe to train where I won't accidentally hurt anyone." "Show me," Kami commanded, his ancient eyes sharp with curiosity and apprehension. Taking a deep breath, Goku centered himself and reached for that spark of golden power. It came easier this time, responding to his call like a familiar friend rather than a wild force. Golden energy began to swirl around him in gentle spirals, his hair flickering between black and gold as he struggled to find the balance point of the transformation. "I can hold it for maybe 10 minutes now," he said through gritted teeth, his voice carrying a new harmonic undertone. "But the power, it's incredible. It's like someone removed all the limits I never knew existed." The transformation stabilized, and for a moment, the Super Saiyan stood before them in full glory. Golden hair defying gravity, emerald eyes blazing with inner fire, an aura that seemed to contain the essence of stars themselves. Even at partial power, the energy radiating from him was enough to make the ancient tiles of the lookout vibrate sympathetically. Then, as quickly as it had come, the form collapsed. Goku staggered, catching himself on one of the lookout's ornate pillars, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort. "The stamina drain is enormous," he panted. "And when I'm in that form, I can feel urges. Aggressive impulses that aren't normally part of who I am. It's like the transformation wants me to fight, to dominate, to prove my superiority." Kami stroked his beard thoughtfully. "The Saiyan nature asserting itself. Your people were warriors first and foremost, Goku. This transformation you've achieved, it's awakening instincts that your Earth upbringing has kept dormant." "There's something else," Goku continued, his expression growing distant. "When I transform, sometimes I get flashes of memories, I think. But they're not my memories. I see other Saiyans, ancient battles, a golden-haired warrior standing alone against impossible odds. It's like the transformation connects me to something larger than myself." Mr. Popo's eyes widened slightly. "Genetic memory, the knowledge and experiences of your ancestors, encoded in your very cells. The Super Saiyan transformation may be acting as a key, unlocking information that has been sealed away for generations." Before Goku could respond, a familiar voice echoed in his mind, the telepathic contact of King Kai reaching across the dimensional barriers. Goku, thank goodness I can still reach you. We need to talk immediately. What you've accomplished has set off alarms throughout the cosmic hierarchy. King Kai, Goku said aloud, touching his fingers to his temple. What do you mean, alarms? The Super Saiyan transformation, Goku, it's not just a legend among your people. It's known throughout the universe as a harbinger of either salvation or destruction. The Grand Kai himself has called an emergency meeting of all the Kais to discuss the implications of your awakening. Kami and Mr. Popo exchanged meaningful looks. If the cosmic authorities were concerned, the situation was more serious than they had imagined. But that's not the worst part, King Kai continued, his mental voice carrying a note of genuine fear. Frieza knows. The blood in Goku's veins turned to ice. Frieza, how could he possibly know? Frieza has spies and informants throughout the galaxy, Goku. Energy readings like the one you produced 3 days ago don't go unnoticed. He's already begun mobilizing his forces, and from what I can gather from cosmic chatter, he's absolutely terrified. The Super Saiyan is the one thing in the universe that Frieza fears above all else. Meanwhile, in the cold depths of space, Prince Vegeta sat rigidly in his attack pod, his royal features twisted into a mask of barely controlled fury. The scouter readings from 3 days ago had been running through his mind on endless repeat, each replay stoking the flames of his rage higher. His companion, the massive Saiyan warrior Nappa, glanced over from his own pod with concern. Prince Vegeta, you've been silent for days. What's troubling you? Troubling me. Vegeta's voice was deadly quiet, the tone he used just before unleashing devastating violence. I'll tell you what's troubling me, Nappa. Someone on that backwater planet just achieved a power level that shouldn't be possible. Nappa's scarred face creased with confusion. Impossible, my prince. The strongest fighter on Earth was measured at barely over 400 when we last checked. What could over 1 million? Vegeta cut him off, his voice cracking like a whip. For just a few minutes, someone on Earth registered a power level over 1 million. And the energy signature, he trailed off, unwilling to voice his deepest suspicions. My prince, surely that's impossible. No one could. It felt like a Saiyan, Vegeta roared, his anger finally exploding outward. The interior of his pod crackled with golden energy as his power spiked in response to his rage. Somehow, impossibly, another Saiyan achieved the legendary transformation before I did. Nappa fell silent, finally understanding the source of his prince's fury. The Super Saiyan, the pinnacle of Saiyan evolution, the transformation that appeared once every 1,000 years, was supposed to be Vegeta's birthright. As the prince of all Saiyans, the legendary power should have manifested in him first. But who could it be? Nappa asked quietly. We're the only Saiyans left, besides that low-class warrior Raditz sent to Earth as an infant. Vegeta's eyes widened as the pieces fell into place. Kakarot, he whispered, the name carrying all the venom of a mortal curse. That low-class scum who killed Raditz. Somehow, that failure of a warrior has achieved the power that should rightfully be mine. His fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles went white. No, I refuse to accept it. I am the prince of all Saiyans. I am the chosen one. Some third-class reject cannot have surpassed me. The pod's navigation systems chimed, indicating they were now within 1 month's travel time of their destination. Vegeta stared at the blue-green sphere of Earth growing larger in his view screen, his mind already racing with plans for conquest and revenge. Nappa, he said in a voice like grinding steel, when we reach that planet, I want you to destroy everything in sight. Cities, forests, mountains, I don't care, but leave the warriors to me, especially Kakarot. Yes, my prince, but if he truly has achieved the legendary transformation, then I'll tear the secret from his corpse, Vegeta snarled. The Super Saiyan power belongs to me, and I'll kill anyone who dares to claim it first, even if I have to destroy that entire planet to prove my superiority. In the depths of space, aboard a massive ship that dwarfed entire fleets, Emperor Frieza sat upon his hoverpod throne, his purple and white form radiating cold menace. Before him, a trembling alien intelligence officer held a data tablet with shaking hands. My lord, the officer began nervously, we've received concerning reports from the Outer Rim territories. 3 standard days ago, an energy spike was detected from the planet Earth, the same world where your forces recently suffered casualties. Frieza's red eyes narrowed to slits. Casualties. You mean where that pathetic Saiyan Raditz was killed by the planet's natives? Why yes, my lord, but the energy reading we detected. It was far beyond anything the inhabitants should be capable of. For approximately 7 minutes, power levels in excess of 1 million were recorded. The temperature in the throne room seemed to drop several degrees as Frieza's Kai spiked with barely contained emotion. 1 million? His voice was deceptively calm, but those who knew him recognized the danger in that tone. Furthermore, my lord, the officer continued, clearly wishing he were anywhere else, our long-range sensors detected a specific energy signature during the spike. One that matches historical records of spit it out, Frieza snapped, his patience evaporating. The Super Saiyan transformation, my lord. Silence fell over the throne room like a death shroud. Frieza's court held their collective breath as their emperor processed this information. Several of the assembled aliens began quietly backing toward the exits, sensing that their continued presence might not be healthy. For a long moment, Frieza said nothing. Then slowly, his lips curved into a smile that held no warmth whatsoever. So, he said softly, the legend is real after all. After all these years of paranoia, of destroying planet Vegeta to prevent this very possibility, a Super Saiyan has finally awakened. His tail lashed behind him like an agitated serpent. No matter. Legends can be killed just like anyone else. Prepare my personal fleet. We're making an immediate course correction for Earth. My lord, one of his advisors dared to speak up, perhaps we should gather more intelligence first. If the readings are accurate, Frieza's death beam punched through the advisor's chest before he could finish the sentence, leaving a smoking hole where his heart had been. The corpse toppled backward with a wet thud. Does anyone else have suggestions about how I should handle this situation? Frieza asked pleasantly, his smile never wavering as he surveyed his remaining court. The silence was deafening. Excellent. Now prep the Jinyu force for immediate deployment. If there truly is a Super Saiyan on Earth, I want it captured alive if possible. The secrets of that transformation will be mine, one way or another. He turned to gaze out of the massive viewport at the star-filled void beyond. After all these centuries of fear and preparation, the legendary Super Saiyan finally shows himself. How deliciously ironic that he would emerge on such an insignificant little world. His reflection in the transparisteel showed eyes that burned with anticipation and a hunger that went beyond mere conquest. Soon, legendary warrior, soon we'll see if your power is truly worthy of the fear it has instilled in me all these years. Back on Earth, Goku's training session with Kami was interrupted by another unexpected arrival. Piccolo materialized on the lookout through his own flight, his weighted cape billowing dramatically as he landed with characteristic intensity. Goku, the Namekian said without preamble, what the hell did you do 3 days ago? Piccolo, Goku seemed genuinely pleased to see his former enemy turned ally. I achieved a new transformation, something called Super Saiyan. Piccolo's eyes widened slightly. Super Saiyan? You mean that's a real thing? I thought it was just Saiyan mythology. Very real, Kami interjected, and very dangerous it seems. The cosmic authorities are in an uproar, and according to King Kai, Frieza himself is now aware of Goku's transformation. Frieza, Piccolo's expression grew grim, the tyrant who destroyed the Saiyan homeworld. If he's taking an interest in Earth, then we're all in danger, Goku finished soberly. That's why I need to master this power as quickly as possible. The Saiyans will arrive in less than 3 months, and if Frieza is coming too. He trailed off as another presence made itself known on the lookout. Chi-Chi appeared at the top of the stairs, having climbed the impossibly long stairway that led up from the Earth's surface. Her face was flushed from the exertion, but her expression was determined. Goku, she called out, marching toward him with purpose. I felt that enormous energy 3 days ago, and then you disappeared without a word. Do you have any idea how worried I was? Chi-Chi, and Gohan keeps asking when his daddy is coming home, she continued, poking him in the chest with her finger. That boy idolizes you, Goku. He's been training in the backyard, trying to copy your techniques, and I swear his power levels are starting to worry even me. Goku's expression softened as he thought of his son. How is he handling everything? The truth about what I am, about what's coming? Chi-Chi's angry facade cracked slightly, revealing the worry beneath. He's scared, Goku. He tries to hide it, but he's just a little boy. He knows something big is coming, and he can sense how different you've become since whatever happened to you. Different how? Kami asked with interest. Chi-Chi glanced at the Guardian, then back at her husband. He's more intense now. More focused, and sometimes when he thinks no one is looking, his eyes. She shuddered slightly. They glow, Goku. Just for a second they turn this brilliant green color, like he's looking at something the rest of us can't see. Piccolo and Kami exchanged glances. The transformation was clearly affecting Goku even when he wasn't actively using it, changing him in ways both subtle and profound. "Chi-Chi," Goku said gently, taking her hands in his, "I need you to trust me on this. The power I've gained, it might be the only thing that can save Earth. But I need time to master it, and I need to do it here where I won't accidentally hurt anyone if I lose control." She looked into his eyes and saw the weight of responsibility there, the burden of knowing that the fate of everyone they loved rested on his shoulders. After a long moment, she nodded reluctantly. "Just promise me you'll come home," she whispered. "Whatever this transformation turns you into, promise me you'll still be my Goku underneath it all." He squeezed her hands reassuringly. "Always, Chi-Chi. No matter how much power I gain, I'll always be the man you married." But even as he spoke the words, Goku couldn't shake the feeling that the Super Saiyan transformation was changing him in ways he didn't fully understand yet. The aggressive impulses, the flashes of ancient memories, the growing sense of pride and superiority that seemed to come with the golden power, all of it was slowly reshaping his personality. The question was whether he could master the transformation before it mastered him. As the sun set over the lookout, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold, the assembled warriors began to grasp the true magnitude of what Goku's transformation meant for their world. The ripples of his awakening had spread across the galaxy like wildfire, setting in motion events that would reshape the destiny of entire civilizations. In the depths of space, Vegeta's rage burned hotter with each passing moment, driving him toward Earth with murderous intent. Frieza's fleet began its course correction, bringing the most feared being in the universe toward their small blue world. And on countless other worlds, beings of immense power took notice of the energy signature that spoke of legend made manifest. The age of the Super Saiyan had begun, and the universe would never be the same. But for now, on a floating sanctuary high above the Earth, a warrior who had once been content with simple challenges found himself grappling with the weight of cosmic destiny. Goku looked up at the emerging stars and wondered if he was strong enough not just to protect his world, but to control the legend he had become. Time would tell if the Earth's greatest protector could master the power of the gods before that power consumed everything he held dear. The morning sky above East City was painted in serene blues when two blazing meteors suddenly streaked across the heavens, their fiery trails cutting through the peaceful atmosphere like harbingers of apocalypse. Citizens stopped in their tracks to point at the celestial phenomenon, some pulling out cameras to capture what they assumed was a rare astronomical event. They had no idea they were witnessing the arrival of extinction itself. The first pod crashed into the mountainous region outside the city with the force of a tactical nuclear strike, sending shockwaves rippling through the ground and toppling trees for miles around. The second impact followed moments later, carving a crater deep enough to serve as a lake. Smoke and debris filled the air as the attack pod's hatches hissed open with mechanical precision. Prince Vegeta emerged from his pod like a predator scenting prey, his royal armor gleaming despite the journey through space. Every movement spoke of deadly grace and barely restrained violence. His dark eyes swept the landscape with calculating intelligence, taking in the lush forests, the distant city, and most importantly, the power levels his scouter was detecting. Nappa hauled his massive frame out of the second pod, the bald giant's scarred features twisted into an anticipatory grin. "Well, Prince Vegeta, this little mudball looks even more pathetic than I expected. Shall we begin the extermination?" Vegeta's scouter beeped softly as it scanned the surrounding area, detecting power levels scattered across the planet. His expression shifted from casual disdain to sharp interest as the readings came in. "Curious," he murmured, his voice carrying the cultured accent of Saiyan royalty. "The power levels on this world are significantly higher than our intelligence suggested. That weakling Raditz reported the strongest fighter at barely over 400, yet I'm detecting several signatures well above 1,000. Perhaps they've been training since Raditz's death," Nappa suggested, cracking his knuckles in anticipation. "All the better. I was hoping for at least a little entertainment before we collect our prize." But Vegeta barely heard his companion's words. His scouter was locked onto something that made his blood run cold with recognition and rage. There, approaching from the direction of the city, was an energy signature that registered at nearly 5,000 in its base form. More importantly, it carried the unmistakable resonance of Saiyan heritage. "Kakarot," Vegeta whispered, the name dripping with venom and barely controlled fury. Within minutes, the assembled defenders of Earth arrived on the scene. Piccolo descended from the sky with his cape billowing dramatically, his power level causing Nappa's scouter to beep in surprise. Krillin, Yamcha, and Tyne followed, each of them stronger than they had any right to be according to Saiyan intelligence reports. But it was the final arrival that truly captured Vegeta's attention. Goku materialized via instant transmission directly in front of the Saiyan prince, the technique's distinctive pop causing both invaders to tense for combat. He stood casually, hands at his sides, but there was something different about his bearing, a confidence that bordered on arrogance, a stillness that spoke of coiled power. So, Goku said quietly, his dark eyes meeting Vegeta's without flinching, "You must be the prince of all Saiyans." Vegeta's scouter shrieked as it attempted to process Goku's power level, the numbers climbing rapidly before the device sparked and died from overload. The prince tore the smoking device from his face and crushed it in his gloved fist. "Impossible," he snarled, his royal composure cracking. "A low-class warrior like you shouldn't possess such power. What tricks have you learned on this backwater planet?" "No tricks," Goku replied, his voice carrying a new harmonic undertone that made the air itself seem to vibrate. "Just the power that was always inside me, waiting to be unlocked." Nappa lumbered forward, his own scouter registering dangerously high readings. "Prince Vegeta, these power levels. Some of these insects are approaching elite warrior status." "Silence," Vegeta snapped, never taking his eyes off Goku. "Tell me, Kakarot, for that is your true name, isn't it? Do you remember anything of your Saiyan heritage? Do you know what you were sent to this planet to accomplish?" Goku's expression grew thoughtful. Since his transformation, flashes of genetic memory had been surfacing with increasing frequency. Images of a world under red skies, of warriors who conquered planets for sport, of a proud race that valued strength above all else. "I remember enough," he said finally. "I know I was sent here to destroy this world. I know our people were warriors who served under someone called Frieza. And I know that despite all of that, Earth is my home now, and these people are my family." The casual dismissal of his Saiyan heritage sent Vegeta into an apoplectic rage. Golden energy began to crackle around the prince's form as his power level spiked dramatically. "Your family," Vegeta's voice rose to a roar, "these weak, pathetic creatures. You dare choose them over the royal blood that flows through your veins." "I choose to protect what I love," Goku replied simply. "And if that means fighting you, then that's what I'll do." Nappa, growing tired of the verbal sparring, decided to take action. With a roar that shook the mountainside, the massive Saiyan launched himself at Piccolo, figuring that eliminating the strongest of the defenders would demoralize the rest. The battle that erupted was unlike anything seen before on Earth. Nappa's raw power was devastating, each of his punches capable of leveling city blocks, but Piccolo had grown far stronger than his canonical counterpart. The Namekian weaved between the giant's attacks with fluid grace, his enhanced training regime paying dividends as he landed precise strikes against his opponent's vital points. Krillin, Yamcha, and Tyne spread out to support their ally, their coordination refined through months of additional preparation. They had known this day was coming and had pushed themselves beyond their previous limitations. But Vegeta only had eyes for Goku. "Show me," the prince demanded, his aura flaring with royal fury. "Show me the power that registered over 1 million 3 months ago. Show me the transformation that should rightfully belong to me." Goku's expression grew serious. "Are you sure, once I transform, this battle will reach a level that might destroy everything around us?" "I am the prince of all Saiyans," Vegeta screamed, his power continuing to climb as his rage fed his strength. "There is no power in this universe that I cannot match, no transformation that I cannot surpass. Now show me what you think makes you special." The challenge hung in the air like a thrown gauntlet. Goku glanced at his friends, noting that they were holding their own against Nappa for the moment, then returned his attention to the prince. If Vegeta wanted to see the legend made manifest, then that's exactly what he would get. "All right," Goku said quietly, beginning to power up. "But don't say I didn't warn you." The transformation began slowly this time, more controlled than his desperate first awakening in the gravity chamber. Golden sparks began to dance around Goku's body as he tapped into that well of ancient power. His hair stirred without any wind, defying gravity as it began to shift from black to gold. Vegeta's eyes widened as he felt the energy building in his rival, the sheer magnitude of power making his warrior's instincts scream warnings. This was beyond anything he had ever encountered, beyond even the legends whispered in the royal courts of planet Vegeta. The golden aura erupted around Goku like a newborn star, washing over the battlefield in waves of pure energy. His hair blazed upward in the distinctive spikes of the Super Saiyan form, transformed from its natural black to a gleaming gold that seemed to contain liquid sunlight. His eyes became twin emeralds, burning with an inner fire that spoke of power beyond mortal comprehension. The very air seemed to catch fire around him as the transformation completed itself. Rocks rose from the ground, caught in the gravitational distortions created by his immense power. The nearby mountains groaned under the pressure, and cracks began to appear in the earth beneath his feet. "Behold," Goku said, his voice now carrying multiple harmonics that made reality itself seem to vibrate, the legendary Super Saiyan. For a moment, Vegeta could only stare in absolute shock. Every fiber of his being, every instinct honed through decades of combat and conquest, was screaming that this was impossible. The low-class warrior standing before him had achieved the ultimate transformation of their race, the power that was supposed to be his birthright. Then the shock transformed into something far more dangerous, pure, incandescent fury. "No!" Vegeta's scream split the air as his own power exploded outward in a golden conflagration. "I am the chosen one, I am the prince. That power belongs to me." His aura blazed higher than it ever had before, driven by emotions that went beyond simple rage. This was the destruction of everything he had believed about himself, about his place in the universe. His entire identity was built on the foundation of Saiyan superiority and royal privilege, and Goku's transformation had just shattered that foundation into dust. But instead of awakening his own Super Saiyan form, Vegeta's fury pushed him into new heights of base power. His tactical mind, sharpened by royal training and battlefield experience, began calculating angles and possibilities with frightening speed. If raw power wasn't enough, then he would use every advantage his royal education had given him. The battle that erupted between them was apocalyptic in scope. Goku's Super Saiyan strength was overwhelming, each of his punches carrying enough force to shatter continents. But Vegeta fought with the desperate cunning of a cornered predator, using his superior technique and battle experience to stay one step ahead of destruction. Their clash sent shockwaves rippling across the landscape, turning mountains into rubble and carving new canyons with the aftershocks of their strikes. The other fighters were forced to retreat to a safe distance, the sheer magnitude of the battle making their own conflict with Nappa seem like a children's game. "How?" Vegeta demanded as he narrowly avoided a devastating Kai blast that vaporized an entire mountainside. "How did a third-class failure like you achieve what I could not?" "Maybe that's your problem," Goku replied, his Super Saiyan form allowing him to keep pace with Vegeta's frenzied attacks. "You're so focused on what you think you deserve that you've forgotten what it means to grow." The psychological warfare cut deeper than any physical blow. Vegeta's movements became more erratic, his usually precise technique deteriorating under the weight of his emotional collapse. Meanwhile, Nappa found himself in an increasingly desperate situation. The Earth's defenders had grown far stronger than anticipated, and their teamwork was flawless. Piccolo's strategic mind coordinated their attacks with military precision, while Krillin's speed, Yamcha's technique, and Tine's raw determination created a web of destruction that the massive Saiyan couldn't escape. "Prince Vegeta," Nappa roared, blood streaming from multiple wounds. "These insects are stronger than we anticipated. I need assistance." But Vegeta was too consumed with his own battle to respond. His world had narrowed to the Golden Warrior before him, the living embodiment of everything he had failed to achieve. Every punch Goku landed was another nail in the coffin of his pride, every energy blast a reminder of his own inadequacy. The breaking point came when Goku's power began to fluctuate. The Super Saiyan transformation was still unstable, and maintaining it during intense combat was pushing his stamina to the limit. Golden sparks began to fade from his aura as exhaustion took its toll. Vegeta sensed the weakness immediately, his royal combat instincts seizing the opportunity. With a roar of triumph, he launched his most devastating attack, a concentrated beam of energy that could have destroyed a small moon. The blast caught Goku as his transformation flickered, sending the Super Saiyan crashing through several mountain peaks before he managed to arrest his momentum. When the dust cleared, Goku was back in his base form, breathing heavily but still standing. "So," Vegeta panted, his own energy depleted from the sustained battle, "even the legendary Super Saiyan has limits. Without that transformation, you're nothing special, Kakarot." But his moment of triumph was short-lived. The sound of Nappa screaming in pain drew his attention back to the other battle, where his companion was being systematically dismantled by the Earth's defenders. "Pathetic," Vegeta snarled, watching as Nappa fell to one knee under the coordinated assault. You're supposed to be an elite warrior and you're being defeated by insects. My prince, Nappa gasped, please help me. Together we can, together. Vegeta's voice was filled with disgust and fury. You want to fight alongside me after proving yourself weaker than these planetary vermin. The realization of what was about to happen dawned on Nappa's scarred features. Prince Vegeta, no, I can still fight. I can, you're worthless, Vegeta stated flatly, raising his hand toward his longtime companion. And I don't suffer weakness in my presence. The energy beam that erupted from Vegeta's palm punched through Nappa's chest with surgical precision, ending the massive Saiyan's life instantly. The body toppled backward, steam rising from the smoking wound as Nappa's eyes went glassy and vacant. The Earth's defenders stared in shock at the casual brutality of the act. Even they, who had seen the depths of evil that beings could sink to, were stunned by Vegeta's willingness to murder his own ally for the crime of being insufficiently strong. You killed him, Krillin whispered, his voice filled with horror. Your own partner? Vegeta turned his cold gaze on the small warrior. He was weak. Weakness is not tolerated among Saiyans. Perhaps that's another lesson your precious Kakarot forgot during his time on this pathetic planet. But Goku was no longer listening to Vegeta's words. The casual murder of Nappa, the complete lack of remorse or regret, had triggered something deep within him. Not the Super Saiyan transformation. That was still too draining to access again so soon, but something else. Something that connected him to the genetic memories that had been surfacing since his awakening. Images flashed through his mind. Saiyan warriors turning on each other when victory became impossible, the strong devouring the weak without hesitation, a culture built on the philosophy that might made right in all circumstances. Is that what we were? Goku asked quietly, his voice carrying a sadness that made the air itself seem heavy. Is that what it means to be a Saiyan, to throw away loyalty and friendship the moment it becomes inconvenient? Vegeta's expression shifted to something resembling confusion. What are you talking about? Saiyans are warriors, not nursemaids. We exist to fight, to conquer, to prove our superiority through strength. Everything else is weakness. Then I'm glad I forgot, Goku replied, his power beginning to build once again despite his exhaustion. Because the way I was raised taught me that strength without compassion is just another form of weakness. The philosophical divide between them was vast as the space between stars. Vegeta, raised in the royal courts of planet Vegeta, had been indoctrinated into a culture where power was the only virtue that mattered. Goku, raised by the gentle Gohan in Earth's mountains, had learned that strength was meaningless unless it was used to protect others. Spare me your primitive sentiment, Vegeta sneered. When I'm done with you, I'll demonstrate true Saiyan philosophy by erasing every life on this miserable planet. But as he prepared to resume their battle, Vegeta could feel his own strength waning. The emotional toll of seeing Goku's transformation, combined with the physical demands of their fight, had pushed even his royal endurance to its limits. More importantly, something was changing in his opponent. The brief rest had allowed Goku to stabilize his energy, and there was a different quality to his power now. Not the raw might of the Super Saiyan form, but something deeper and more controlled. This isn't over, Vegeta declared, taking to the sky with his aura blazing around him. I will unlock the secret of that transformation, Kakarot, and when I do, I'll return to show you the true meaning of Saiyan power. Vegeta, wait, Goku called out, but the prince was already streaking across the sky like a falling star in reverse. The battlefield fell silent, except for the wind whistling through the newly carved canyons. The Earth's defenders stood among the rubble and devastation, trying to process what they had just witnessed. He's going to come back, Piccolo stated grimly, and next time he'll be even more dangerous. Goku nodded, his gaze fixed on the point where Vegeta had disappeared into the distance. I know. But something tells me that when he returns, he won't be the same person who left. Seeing that transformation, it broke something inside him. What none of them could have predicted was how that broken prince would rebuild himself, or what new horrors his obsession with surpassing the Super Saiyan would unleash upon the universe. The first battle was over, but the war for Earth's future had only just begun. The medical bay at Capsule Corporation hummed with the quiet efficiency of advanced technology as Dr. Brief and his team of scientists worked to analyze the aftermath of the battle that had reshaped several mountain ranges. Goku lay on an examination table, his orange gi replaced by a simple medical gown, while sensors monitored every aspect of his physiology. Remarkable, Dr. Brief murmured, adjusting his glasses as he studied the readouts. Your cellular structure shows signs of fundamental alteration, Goku. It's as if the transformation has rewritten your very DNA. Bulma looked up from her own bank of computers, her blue hair slightly disheveled from hours of non-stop analysis. Dad's right, the energy residue we collected from the battle site is unlike anything we've ever encountered. It's not just Kai, it's something more primal, more ancient. Goku winced as another sensor was attached to his arm. The physical exhaustion from his battle with Vegeta was nothing compared to the mental strain he'd been experiencing since the transformation. "It feels like there's someone else in my head sometimes," he admitted quietly. "Like I'm sharing space with the memories of every Saiyan who came before me." The statement sent a chill through the assembled scientists. Bulma's fingers flew across her keyboard, pulling up brain scan data that made her eyes widen in surprise. "Goku, look at this," she said, turning her monitor toward him. "Your neural activity during the transformation showed patterns we've never seen before. There are entire sections of your brain that were completely dormant before the battle, and now they're firing with incredible intensity." "What does that mean?" Goku asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "It means the Super Saiyan transformation isn't just about power," Dr. Brief concluded, his scientific mind racing with possibilities. "It's unlocking genetic memories, ancestral knowledge that's been encoded in your DNA for generations. You're not just becoming stronger, you're becoming connected to the entire history of your race." As if summoned by their words, another wave of visions crashed over Goku's consciousness. He gripped the sides of the examination table as images flooded his mind with startling clarity. A world of red skies and towering spires, where warriors with tails and wild hair dominated lesser races through sheer force of will. Massive coliseums where Saiyans battled exotic creatures from across the galaxy, their roars of triumph echoing across continents. And always, hovering in the background like a malevolent star, the white and purple form of Emperor Frieza, watching the Saiyan warriors with calculating eyes. "The visions are getting stronger," Goku gasped, his body trembling as the memories played out behind his closed eyelids. "I can see planet Vegeta now, see what it was like before Frieza destroyed it." Bulma exchanged worried glances with her father. "Tell us what you see, Goku. Every detail could be important." Goku's voice took on a distant quality as he described the images flooding his mind. "It's magnificent and terrible at the same time. The Saiyans were incredibly powerful, but they were also ruthless beyond anything I could have imagined. They didn't just conquer worlds, they enjoyed it. The suffering of weaker races was entertainment to them." The vision shifted, showing a massive throne room where a giant ape-like creature sat upon a seat made from the bones of fallen enemies. King Vegeta, the current prince's father, but this was different from the brief glimpses Goku had seen before. This King Vegeta was older, wiser, and there was fear in his eyes as he spoke to someone off-camera. "The legend speaks of a golden warrior," the king was saying, his voice filled with desperate hope. "One who appears every 1,000 years to either save or damn our race, the readings we've detected. Could it be that the time has finally come?" "Impossible," came the reply, and Goku's blood ran cold as he recognized Frieza's silky voice. "The Super Saiyan is a myth, nothing more. Your people's pathetic attempts to find hope in fairy tales won't save you from the inevitable." But even as Frieza spoke dismissively, Goku could see the fear in the Emperor's red eyes. Behind the casual cruelty was a terror so deep it had shaped every decision the tyrant made for decades. Goku's eyes snapped open, the vision ending abruptly and leaving him gasping for breath. "Frieza knew," he whispered, his voice filled with stunned realization. "He destroyed planet Vegeta because he was afraid of the Super Saiyan legend. All those Saiyans died because he was terrified of a transformation he claimed didn't exist." The implications of this revelation sent shockwaves through everyone present. If Frieza had genocided an entire race out of fear of the Super Saiyan, then Goku's transformation represented something far more significant than just a new level of power. "There's something else," Goku continued, his expression growing troubled. "In the vision, King Vegeta mentioned readings they had detected. I think there might have been other Super Saiyans throughout history. The 1,000-year cycle he mentioned, it suggests the transformation has appeared before." Bulma's fingers flew across her keyboard as she accessed historical databases. "If that's true, then we might be able to find records of previous manifestations. Cosmic events that couldn't be explained, sudden shifts in galactic power structures." "Look for destruction," Goku said grimly. "From what I'm seeing in these memories, Super Saiyans weren't necessarily heroes. Some of them were forces of pure annihilation." The weight of that statement settled over the room like a funeral shroud. Goku wasn't just dealing with newfound power, he was grappling with a legacy of violence that stretched back millennia. I can feel it sometimes, he continued, his voice barely above a whisper. When I transform, there's this hunger. Not for food, but for battle, for dominance. It wants me to prove my superiority by crushing everything in my path. Chi-Chi, who had been quietly listening from the corner of the room, suddenly spoke up. That's not you, Goku. Whatever these visions are showing you, whatever instincts the transformation brings up, they don't define who you are. Don't they? Goku asked, turning to meet his wife's concerned gaze. What if the only reason I've been different is because I hit my head as a baby? What if my true nature is just as destructive as every other Saiyan who ever lived? Then you choose to be better, Chi-Chi said firmly, moving to his side and taking his hand. You've spent your entire life protecting people, Goku. One transformation isn't going to change that. But even as she spoke the words, Chi-Chi couldn't shake her own concerns. She had noticed the changes in her husband since his awakening, the way his eyes sometimes lingered on potential opponents, the barely restrained aggression that seemed to simmer just beneath the surface. The gentle, somewhat naive man she had married was still there, but something else was awakening alongside him. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent chiming from Bulma's communication console. She frowned as she answered the incoming call, her expression shifting to alarm as King Kai's voice filled the room. Goku, thank goodness I can reach you. We have a problem, several problems actually. King Kai, Goku sat up straighter on the examination table. What's happening? First, Vegeta has gone into hiding, but he's not idle. My sources in the afterlife tell me he's seeking out ancient Saiyan training grounds, places where the most powerful warriors of your race once honed their skills. He's obsessed with unlocking his own transformation. That's actually not surprising, Goku admitted. Seeing the Super Saiyan form broke something fundamental in him, he won't rest until he surpasses it. There's more. Frieza's fleet has changed course and is now heading directly for Earth. But that's not the worst part, he's not coming alone. Intelligence reports suggest he's bringing the Jinyu Force, his personal guard, and something called the Saiyan Hunters. Doctor. Brief looked up from his instruments with confusion. Saiyan Hunters, elite soldiers specifically trained to counter Saiyan combat techniques. Apparently, Frieza has been preparing for the possibility of a Super Saiyan awakening for decades. Your transformation, Goku, has triggered contingency plans that have been in motion since before planet Vegeta's destruction. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Goku's achievement of the legendary transformation hadn't just made him stronger, it had painted a target on Earth that could be seen across the galaxy. How long do we have? Goku asked quietly. At their current speed. Maybe 6 months, possibly less if they push their engines to maximum. But Goku, there's something else you need to know. The Grand Kai has been monitoring cosmic energy patterns, and your transformation has attracted attention from beings far beyond Frieza's level. What do you mean? The universe is vast, Goku, and filled with entities of unimaginable power. Some of them view the Super Saiyan as a threat to the cosmic order. Others see it as an opportunity to claim that power for themselves. Your awakening has sent ripples through dimensions we can barely comprehend. Bulma's face had gone pale as she processed the information. So not only do we have to deal with Frieza and Vegeta, but now there are cosmic-level threats interested in Earth. I'm afraid so. The Super Saiyan transformation is more than just a legend. It's a universal constant that appears when the balance of power in the cosmos needs to be adjusted. Unfortunately, that adjustment can go in either direction. Goku stood up from the examination table, his expression grim but determined. Then I need to get stronger, fast. If these threats are coming, I have to be ready to face them. Not just stronger, came a new voice from the doorway. Piccolo entered the medical bay, his weighted cape billowing behind him. You need to understand what you've become, Goku. Raw power won't be enough if you don't know how to control it properly. Piccolo's right, Dr. Brief agreed, studying his readouts with scientific fascination. The energy patterns we're detecting suggest that the Super Saiyan transformation has multiple stages or variations. What you achieved during the battle might just be the beginning. Another vision struck Goku without warning, this one more vivid than any before. He saw a Saiyan warrior standing among the ruins of entire galaxies, his golden hair blazing with power that dwarfed stars. But this wasn't the same transformation Goku had achieved. This was something beyond even that, something that made his current power look like a candle compared to a supernova. The ascended forms, a voice whispered in his mind, speaking an ancient Saiyan dialect that he somehow understood perfectly. Beyond Super Saiyan lies Super Saiyan 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and ultimately, perfection itself. But beware, young warrior, each level brings you closer to the madness that consumed your predecessors. Goku staggered as the vision ended, his hand reaching out to steady himself against the examination table. "There are more forms," he said breathlessly. "The transformation I achieved, it's just the first step. There are levels beyond it that make my current power look insignificant." "How many levels?" Bulma asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her concern. "I don't know," Goku admitted. "The visions are fragmented, incomplete, but I saw enough to know that the path ahead is dangerous. Each transformation brings more power, but it also brings more of the destructive instincts that originally defined our race." Chi-Chi's grip on his hand tightened. "Then we'll make sure you don't walk that path alone. Whatever these transformations might try to turn you into, you have people here who will remind you of who you really are." Piccolo nodded in agreement. "The old Namekian legends speak of warriors who transcended their base nature through the support of their bonds with others. Perhaps that's the key to mastering these forms without losing yourself to them." "That's actually not a bad theory," King Kai interjected thoughtfully. "The previous Super Saiyans I've heard about in cosmic legend were typically isolated figures, warriors who achieved their power through rage and trauma. But you, Goku, you transformed out of a desire to protect others. That fundamental difference might be what allows you to control the power instead of being consumed by it." The thought sparked hope in the room, but it was tempered by the reality of what they were facing. Frieza was coming with an army designed specifically to counter Saiyan abilities. Vegeta was somewhere in the galaxy, growing stronger through methods they could only guess at. And beyond them both, cosmic forces were stirring that viewed Earth as either a prize to be claimed or a threat to be eliminated. "We need to prepare for war," Goku said finally, his voice carrying a weight of responsibility that hadn't been there before his transformation. "Not just me, but all of us. If these threats are as dangerous as King Kai suggests, then Earth's defenders will need to become stronger than we ever thought possible." Bulma was already pulling up training protocols on her computer. "The gravity chamber can be modified to handle higher multiplicites. If you can master the Super Saiyan form under extreme conditions, you might be able to achieve those higher levels you saw in your vision. And I'll work on expanding my own power," Piccolo added. "If Namekian fusion techniques can be adapted, there might be ways to combine our strengths more effectively." Dr. Brief nodded enthusiastically. "The scientific applications alone are staggering. If we can understand the mechanics of Saiyan transformation, we might be able to develop technology that enhances Kai manipulation for all of Earth's defenders." As the assembled group began planning their preparations, Goku found himself staring out the window at the peaceful city beyond. Ordinary people going about their daily lives, unaware that their world had become the focal point of cosmic forces beyond their comprehension. "I won't let them suffer for my heritage," he thought grimly. "Whatever it takes, whatever I have to become, I'll protect this world and everyone on it." But deep in his mind, where the genetic memories of 1,000 generations of warriors stirred like sleeping predators, something whispered back with golden fire. "And if protecting them requires you to become the very monster your ancestors were, what then, Kakarot? How far are you willing to fall to save what you love?" The question echoed in the silence of his thoughts, and for the first time since achieving the legendary transformation, Goku found himself truly afraid, not of his enemies, but of what he might have to become to defeat them. Outside, the sun continued its journey across the sky, marking the passage of time toward an uncertain future. And somewhere in the depths of space, forces both ancient and terrible began their own preparations for the coming storm. The age of the Super Saiyan had truly begun, and the universe would never be the same. And that wraps up part 1 of this absolutely epic early Super Saiyan saga. We went from Goku's desperate transformation in the gravity chamber to Vegeta's complete psychological breakdown after witnessing the legendary power firsthand. What a wild ride. Drop a comment and let me know what you thought of these opening chapters. Were you blown away by Goku's genetic memory awakening? Did Frieza's paranoid response give you chills? Or was it Vegeta's fury at being surpassed that hit hardest? That scene where the prince kills Nappa in rage over being outdone was absolutely brutal. Make sure to subscribe if you're loving this series because part 2 is going to be even more insane. We're talking Namek with a completely different power dynamic, enhanced androids designed specifically to counter early SSJ data, and cosmic forces that have taken notice of Earth way ahead of schedule. Part 2 drops soon, so stay tuned and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.